Yeah, I was watching several players and teams in France, both in the first division and second division. Started tracking a few players within the top tier of the second division, and was actually watching another player, and this young winger was having a field day, doing all the things that I think are important for us, but also just things that I think are very valuable in our league and probably in any league around the world, which are he was constantly threatening the space behind the back lines. He has high-level speed. He has timing that was impeccable. He knew how to bend his runs and run the offside line. He was one-on-one when he was isolated in situations. He was beating the guy more times than not. He was able to come in the gap, and he showed great technical ability in between the lines and combining things. So he started to show all of the tools that we want in a winger, and specifically it's the threat to get in behind, because we have so many players who like to play between the lines and who are so talented in finding the final pass that we really need that guy who has this pace and the timing to get behind the back line, and he was consistently showing him. So I kept watching him week in and week out for the course of probably 12 weeks, maybe 10 to 12 weeks, and just kept producing, and was scoring goals in different ways, left foot, right foot with his head. And it became evident that he was a young player as we started to do more research that was going to be destined for bigger things and had all the qualities that we were looking for in a player.
Well, Kevin was brought up by the coaching staff and specifically by Greg, who have been following for a long time. After obviously doing our due diligence and having followed him now for a while, and seeing the opportunity to be able to bring him here, obviously then protocol starts of getting to know the kid better, his family, and seeing what the possibilities are of really bringing him here. I think obviously he's young, which gives him still some room to develop and an upside. But on the other hand, he's also been developed in a very good academy at Paris Saint-Germain. And he had a great season now in a difficult spot, and I think that with his dynamic and his flair and his ability to go by people, I think he can be a very good asset to the puzzle that Greg is putting together.
We had been scouting in South America, Central America, Asia, Europe, and lots of places. And had discussions about players in multiple places, but this young player started to show all the qualities. The pieces were unknown for a while until we were finally able to kind of dig down a little bit deeper and see that things could come together. But we could do a lot of homework on him and find that this was a player that suited what we were trying to do. And then obviously the Galaxy is a big brand and a great club where young players now. For me, this is a huge deal because this is a young European player who had opportunities to stay in Europe and continue to build his career in Europe, who has chosen MLS and has chosen the LA Galaxy to continue his journey. And he still wants to play at Champions League level soccer in Europe, and he's chosen LA to come in as a next step, which is a big deal for our league, and I think it's a big deal for our club.
Well, I think this specific player is obviously, with Greg knowing him well and scouting him for a while, the intention obviously for us to have young players on one end that gives us some continuity in the upcoming years, because obviously you're not overhauling it every year, and what shouldn't be the case. But it also gives you that in the international transfer market, some of our young players are looked at, followed, and I think that's also what made Kevin decide that for him it is obviously a great showcase to show his talent and his desire to obviously grow into a good player.
Well, he's a winger primarily. He can also play up with a striker or as a striker at times, but primarily he's a winger, and again, he stretches the defense. He forces the opposition to respect the space behind him on a consistent basis. And what that does for guys like Chicharito and for Victor Vasquez, for Seba, is it opens up the spaces between the midfield and the back line that allow those guys to receive the ball on the turn. It gives them targets. It's like a quarterback. You know, those guys are like quarterbacks. They need a receiver. This guy he's the kid that is the receiver who can make the run and time the run and be on the end of some of those passes, create constant threats to the opposition in terms of having to defend the space behind them. For Javier, again, it's the same thing. His capacity to beat players one-on-one, force defenders out to help those fullbacks, get them out of the middle of the field. His capacity to get to the end line and cut balls back. He can cross with his left foot as well as he can with his right foot. So there's a lot of versatility there that helps us in setting up our goal scorers as well, and Javier and anyone else that's on the field to create opportunities.
Yeah, I think if you combine it with Javier is a player who is at his best close to the goal, and with players around him that can set him up. And then he's lethal, and he is very sharp in his movement, and he's very good, and he understands. I know that he understands his strengths very well, but he needs players around him that can set him up. And I think Kevin is one of the pieces with other pieces around him, like Sebastian, Efra, Victor, Samuel Granzier, that can set up players like Javier and can be very dangerous for us. And it gives us different opportunities. Kevin is able to play from the right side, from the left side, and occasionally even together with Javier, or maybe as a striker also in times of need.
Well, it's, with the new initiatives in the league, by having 2 senior DPs and 1 youth fund DP, essentially, or youth DP, it actually opens up the mechanism to be able to bring in 3 more youth players. They come onto our budget for lower than a senior DP would, which gives us a lot of budget flexibility in a number of different ways that would take us a long time to explain. But it allows us to continue to build depth in the team, so that we can have 2 to 3 players plus our academy kids that we're bringing through to really build depth in this roster and competition, and have some players, again, that are established veterans, but also have some young players that we're developing. And it allows us to have some roster continuity over the years, and some depth in all of our positions and competition, which is really what good teams, all good teams have that.
Well, I think also currently the rules and how the salary cap structure is set up, it gives you a lot of benefits. And obviously with a lower number on your salary cap, with the ability to also now in the near future scout for youth fund players, as this is a new step that the MLS as a general is going into. I think for us it's something positive, and we've been actively discussing this internally with every stakeholder at the club, and we're excited that Kevin joins us, and that gives us, with the difficult and the different rules and every restrictions and rules and regulations that exist, gives us a lot of flexibility actually.
For one, I think it's a massive statement on what the club has been able to do, and the image it's been able to create worldwide. To be seen as a brand that's big enough that young players can trust coming to our organization and our staff, and saying, I can go there and I can continue to progress my abilities, and one day, hopefully be one of the big clubs in the world. And for them to see our league like that means that we're really making progress. And you're seeing that year in and year out now with young players around the league who are getting those opportunities. But to have a player from Europe come is a big deal. What it says for us in our direction is that we also want to have players that are going to give us some continuity over some years, who are playing for things in terms of development, and are playing and are trying to strive for and achieve new things in their careers, not players always that are towards the tail end of their careers, but finding a nice balance. So it's the balance between having those veteran players and guys who have already proven it over years within their career, but also to have the young, ambitious players who are still building their careers with us. It's also financially responsible in some ways to, we've consumed a lot of DPs over the years, of which you get nothing in return when you go back to the market. This is an opportunity to continue the development of young player, possibly go back to the market, and hopefully one day when the timing is right for him and for us, that we can maybe sell again, make something out of it, turn that around into investment back into the team and other things. And it's the way of the game. You've got to do a little bit of both. This gives us the opportunity to do that. And if he's fantastic and wants to stay on LA, he could be here for the next 10 to 15 years and be a premier player in our league. So we have options. That's the key here, is that we have options with a young player to progress them and make some good decisions along the road. No, we're definitely not complete yet. We might pause for a second because we've just added several players that we have a couple more that hopefully are due to come in this sort of phase of things. But then we'll reassess, and what we really have at our disposal now is 3 youth fund spots, and then we'll see what else we can pull off. But it's going to be a work in progress. I think over the course of the entire season, the ideal here is that we can have some consistency going into next season. We won't have to make many changes. There's still the possibility that a senior DP could be out there for us at some point. We all know a name that could be a possibility, but there's a lot of things that are going on there. But so we still have a lot of flexibility to go in a lot of ways to continue to build this roster. But this puts us in a good spot to get the season started.